We are starting the show a little bit early, and we could have started even earlier than this. And I know
Yeah.
some fans were begging us to do it.
It's awkward. I can't even watch. If something happened, you're up here. Who
No,
knows? Who?
people want to wake up early today. I gotta wake up early tomorrow, so they want
It's
us
a
to
it's a late
start.
game, and it makes sense for us
That's
to.
what on demand's for.
I know that, but we like our live audience, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, we got West Coasters. We got people all over the world. Australia's checking in.
We got
Different
people.
times of
Right.
day.
Yeah, yeah.
But if this was the nail biter, though, maybe there's more people. Maybe, but still, we appreciate you guys.
We appreciate
Should have
you.
been a nail biter. You come into this one, 1 point underdogs, and you win by what was the final score? Is the game still going?
going.
Still going.
Yeah,
A
up
buck 25 to 98. So
up
you go
39.
27. I think that's gonna be the final score there.
This is one of the more shocking results I've seen.
It's
covering
over.
this game.
125-98.
Was this more about the Suns or the Celtics tonight, John?
Celtics.
Both.
Celtics.
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay. The Suns, their record though, I mean, they really had to fight for some of those wins. I mean, if you look at both teams, I mean, you kind of had a sense that Celtics were going to win this one way or another. I didn't think it looked like this, but I really like the Celtics' chances in this one, even though they weren't even the favorites going into it.
I was torn. You lose Horford against an Ayton. Brogdon came back, so that was a boost, but this was one of the better teams in the league coming into tonight in terms of differential, in terms of defense and offense at the same time.
Yeah, that's true. But I also think that this is the Celtics showing just how far ahead they are, the Suns. And maybe it's not. Maybe this
Which
is
is crazy. I mean, that's about as good of a competition as you're going to see this year.
Look, here's why it's about
conference though. Right now, the Western Conference it's shaky. Let's face it, it is. And I don't mean
That's
that.
true.
I'm not trying to discredit the Celtics, but this again, it shows how ahead they are of the Suns right now.
And that's why I
the
think it's
takeaway
about the
tonight.
Celtics is this was like I love these games where the opposing team has to like literally reconsider its entire existence after they play you, you know? Like who are
This was
we?
like
And
game
like
7.
right, like
Yeah.
you go home and you look in the mirror and be like, I'm ugly. You know, like nobody likes me. I'll never get a date. Like you just
And 12 hours ago, you felt completely different.
you felt so, even though they lost to the Mavericks recently, but they're like, we're number one in the West. And you're right. Like Bobby said, the Horford game, I thought this one would be annoying because, again, you do have the Ayton advantage. Ayton was dog shit tonight.
Awful.
I mean,
Booker was awful. Chris was bad in his return. It was a disaster for the Suns. So that's
Paul
the
looked
only
bad.
reason.
Paul looked out of shape, but fine. It's a disaster. Booker couldn't hit his shots. Paul looked off. Ayton, every single time he brought the ball below his knees, he got stripped. It was just dreadful all around. And they just don't have enough horses. Look, they were saying it late in the game, like, Phoenix might be a regular season team. They play good basketball. They're well coached. They've got some good players, but like, do they have the horses?
Their bench is shaky. That's where this game turned.
But I mean, they've got good players, but it's like, are they great players? Like Chris Paul elevates them for sure. Ayton, you understand why. They've had a difficult time deciding what to do with him because and I tweeted this. If you've got a guy like Ayton, okay, a true big, and the Celtics are without any bigs, Horford or Williams, and Williams is on the trip, by the way, here, which again we're waiting to see. Are any of these games one of the games where he might play? You don't know. Bobby, you've been targeting Saturday with Golden State. I'm down with that, but we'll get to Rob in a little
Jimmy,
bit.
actually.
Okay.
But I'll roll with it.
But I'm saying LA, if anything.
But before we get to Rob, like this should be a game where you've got some advantages. You're getting Paul back, and you've got a massive advantage in the middle, and you're home. And you just get absolutely, obliterated, just run off the court it was never competitive. This was never competitive. It's just dominant. It's like Josue said earlier. Even though Josue said, "I'm putting it on the Suns," it's a reality check just to show, like, or where the Celtics are and where everyone else is.
Right.
Van Gundy was like tripping on himself earlier in the broadcast, saying there's only 4 teams who could win it, and the Suns are one of them. And Jackson was trying to talk him into more teams. Honestly, I might even say there's fewer teams that might win it after watching a game like this. You think anybody out of the West is beating the Celtics from Milwaukee? There might be two teams who can win this thing, assuming everybody's healthy and no major trades, and they're both playing in the East right now.
Right.
So I mean they are levels above. We talked about them possibly being the Warriors. They are in that range of they are a couple of levels above most teams in the league right now. And the Suns are also rans comparatively to what the Celtics are doing or the way the Celtics are playing right now.
Yeah, I just think the records are a bit misleading. I mean, look, going into this matchup, you're thinking, well, this could be a nail biter. But I just, again, the where the Celtics are right now in their progress and where the Suns are, I mean, they're shaky right now. I mean, they had to dust off Chris Paul to just sort of spice this one up, because I think that they knew that they needed that sort of counter against the Celtics offense, And you look at the way the team is built, they rely a lot on their bench guys, their depth. The Celtics, just from that first quarter alone, like you said, John, it was like their souls were gone, man. Like those guys, right? The other guys, sure, Booker wasn't checked out quite yet, but this team heavily relies on those other guys, and the Celtics just completely knocked them off. And look, even Ayton in certain plays, they were trying to get him going, but he can't play like this. He can't play in this style. Not right now. Not with the way the Celtics are rolling. Trying to keep up.
Dude, every time he turned his back, someone stripped him, and then he'd be like, and his body language, he just wouldn't go back down the court. I mean, he was in his, he was in his head the whole time.
Mentally, he was checked out. He was like, man, this team is ridiculous. And that's what the Celtics do. They continue to do that, against most of their opponents. And even if all records aside, one of the top teams in the Western Conference, it didn't matter tonight.
Yeah, they're pushing toward that Warriors differential level. 15 Warriors were plus 9.5. The Celtics, I don't know if this includes tonight's yet, but are at plus 8.5 per 100. So they're not quite at that all-time level, but the offense is, and the defense is coming around, which is another story tonight. They look dominant on that end. They've really built a couple games in a row here where they look reminiscent of their former selves. You talk about forcing the turnovers, John, and some of the disruptiveness and switching that they've been able to throw at these string of teams that they've played now who've gotten a little bit better here. I'm loving what I'm seeing there. And to be able to do it with Blake in the starting lineup is impressive, as they've done a couple games in a row now here. You got Brown more engaged on that end. You have Tatum doing his thing as he has been all year. Grant, I thought, had his best game in a while in this one as well. And Smart, getting in passing lanes and all that stuff. The defense was great here.
White was incredible in that second quarter. He had a stretch of just stop, steal, go the other way.
How
pass,
good is he?
Blah. He went just that second quarter stretch. End of the day, the numbers are pretty pedestrian on the day. He just, when it was closing time there, he just had one play after another, and that just put the whole game away there in the second.
And I had my eye on him coming into this one because I love this. I know it's not a catch-all stat or anything like that, but I do get intrigued by these analytics that stack up the best players in the league. And that 538 one wrap there, he was 27th in the league coming into today. And that's
Andrew Bailey, that guy who does a lot of tweets with a lot of stats. He does the top 10 kind of catch-all stats, box plus minus, Raptor, all of those things, and kind of and aggregates them and rates players. And White was number 2 again. He's definitely an analytics darling.
Two in the league,
number 2 behind Tatum on the Celtics. He was he was like 40th in the league, but like one notch ahead of Jalen and all of those. So again, they are what they are. We're not going to sit here and pretend that Derek White's in the same league as a player like Brown, but
it's emblematic of how he's played, though.
He just does everything that you need to do.
Well, I think it's a testament to what he's doing to opposing second units. I mean, he matches. You can match him in with the starters as well, but he's also just like that guy who can sort of calm things down on the defensive end of the floor while also giving you buckets, whether it's him knocking down shots or finding the right guys, open guys.
Yeah, and you've kind of chalked it up to the shooting increase, John, which is true. I mean, you come out and shoot 45% from 3, it changes everything. But his ability to mesh between the on-ball role, which he's been incredible in when Smart's been out and Brogdon in those situations, and tonight, where he's catching that long pass in the corner from Smart. I know that's only 3 hitting this one, but being active off the ball and still garnering 6 assists. He can do a little bit of everything, plus the defense, which I've always loved. I still go back to the finals where he was really giving Curry issues those first 3 games or so there. I love his game because it's so adaptable. You can
It's
use
not
it in
all
so many
shooting.
different ways.
It's not all shooting that I think is the improvement this year. I just think because it was so atrociously bad last year, it affected his confidence in terms of doing anything. So he became a lot more passive offensively when the team needed a little bit more of a little bit more attacking, a little bit more aggression, and so
Yeah.
he became so in his own head over his own shooting difficulties that he became difficult to play at times because he was such a liability offensively. That's my issue. It's not that every improvement is just because of the 3-point percentage. It's now he can play that complete game, give the game what it needs, and you can see all of that other stuff that he does so well because you're not focused on the fact that he's gone 1 for 9 shooting in a game and has decided to put it in his pocket because he's afraid to pull the trigger again.
Mm-hmm.
But I love it. I mean, it's the whole idea of just the depth. I mean, Brogdon when he came in was ridiculous tonight.
Oh man,
You talk about what kind of put it away. When he came in
the
the first
pull-ups.
quarter, it was like
Yeah.
three pointer, drive to the basket, drive and kick, and the Celtics who were kind of like struggling before he got in the game.
Hockey assist,
All of a
man.
sudden they were like 16, 18 points. All of a sudden they had 30 points and they were off and running and they built a 10-point lead when Brogdon came in the game. He was unreal.
You know what, John? You know that the jersey you retweeted the other day. You know the guy that's putting it out. He's gonna have to put up a new
I
one.
love
Right?
it. Yeah.
Yeah. That Bruins jersey, I think that would be a perfect type of thing for Brogdon, man. I know he switches up the player every single game,
Yeah.
but man, I mean, like that, just the switch, like we talk about the hockey assist, right? That's one hockey reference, but then
Yeah.
also when he comes in, like even if it's like a full blown, like 4 guys checking in at the same time, and he's one of those guys. He just changes things out there. He just completely changes the flow of the offense, and he's finding the right guys. And it doesn't necessarily have to be him scoring, but that was the case here, right? Like that pull-up jump shot, they had to respect it. They didn't at first, and all of a sudden, the Celtics are building up a double-digit lead, and the Suns they couldn't recover just from that by the end of the first quarter. Like that's when it really started.
Ball game. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I heard at one point he's the qualified leader in 3-point shooting in the league. Coming out of this one, 49% Brogdon. So
that's amazing.
That's shot way up. That happened fast because I remember a week or two ago when I checked that he was at like 38.
No, I
so
thought he's been
on
in
a
the
tear
40s
here.
most of the year, but he has been on an absolute tear.
Up to 49% from 3. So remember, that was one of the things we talked about when they addressed when they added him is the elite catch and shoot game that he has, and he's been stepping into some too. It's been a mix for him.
Yeah.
But when he was playing with Giannis, when he was playing early on in Indiana with a better team, he was like a 40% guy. Sometimes I think his best year he was up close to 50% from 3 on catch and shoot situations. So that was the one thing you looked at, Josue, and said, this guy could be elite coming here if he stays healthy and plays off of Tatum and everything goes as expected. And it has so far. Is there a better offseason? Is there a better addition from the offseason? I can't think of one off the top.
No, and that's why I think it was so underrated from the offseason, because it's like, well, everyone here understands the magnitude of it, but I mean, there were some people, the national media mentioning it.
He had a bad year last year, injuries and all that. So it kind of took the allure out of it.
I think the people who pointed it out realized that was exactly one of the many things that this team was missing, especially throughout the NBA Finals. There's someone to just settle down the second unit and run the floor, be a secondary playmaker and all that stuff. But also Malcolm Brogdon, I mean, he's been on really talented teams, but has he had weapons like this before? I don't think so. I think that's another thing that we're looking at right now, just how he's maximizing this opportunity. And obviously we're seeing the results here, but I think he's having a blast out there as well, because he's never been on a team with this much talent,
Hey, Jimmy, give that one to him. He always wanted him. It's working out better than anyone could have imagined, or as good as anyone could have imagined in some cases like his, I'm sure. But he's been incredible. He's stayed healthy for the most part. And the key is they play him 19 minutes, 20 minutes, 22 minutes. That's the
Yeah.
big difference, I think. When you're able to manage a guy like that, he's going to be fresh. And you
For
could
tho-
even give him a day off. They pretty much gave him 4 days off with that hamstring, John. That had to be what that was, because it didn't seem like it was severe. It didn't linger, and he's playing great on the back end of it.
For those who care about these sort of things, and why not? Because we're on the air and we cover Boston sports. And this is one of my favorite things when I used to work at NBC covering the winter meetings because news breaks right around now. Xander Bogaerts is a San Diego Padre, 11 years, 280 million,
Oh,
on a day where it was reported that the Red Sox and Xander were kind of turning up the heat a little bit on their
yeah.
talks. San Diego goes in hard. And again, apparently they were in on Judge. They missed out on Trey Turner. They turned to Xander and kablamo.
Yeah, they
11,
weren't gonna. Yeah. Jeez.
11 and 280. Sox were nowhere near that. They weren't going to get anywhere near that. Whatever conversation they were having was not going to approach it. So bye bye Xander, bye bye Mookie, bye bye John. As a Red Sox fan, I left the team 3 or 4 years ago. This is part of the reason why.
This is the nail of the coffin right here. This is
See
it.
you guys later. I don't watch anymore.
You would have gone there though, 11 years.
Not at
and
all. I
that?
actually think this is prudent, but the problem is you've screwed it up at every turn.
They could have come in. Yeah, if they did a deal sooner, they could have come
It's
in below that.
Not just that, but the other issues is every single thing that they've done has been a mess, and then they try to clean it up with band-aids after the fact. You don't sign Story and not Xander. You don't sign, like everything they did was wrong.
Yeah, you might
so-
even end up going the
Started with
career
Mookie.
route here, and
Started
you
with
can have
Mookie, if you ask me.
you can have that argument about which one of those guys is better, but it's about kind of building the team and having that sustainability and having guys that people want to watch and go to the ballpark for, and they're really lacking in that now. It's gonna be dreary at Fenway this year. And plus, how does this impact Devers into the future? I mean, that's where I'll jump off the ship, John, if they lose Devers.
I've already jumped. I'm gone. Anyway, we'll jump back to this. We'll jump back to the Celtics. This was breaking news. I figured we'd throw it out there because that's what we do.
That hurts, especially early in the day when you thought it was turning the other way.
Yeah,
man, what a bummer.
Bye. That's it. Yeah, it did look like it was going the other direction. So Bruins win, Celtics win. There's the Red Sox give you yet another reason to stop paying attention to them. So you have that. Okay.
They fell to last place in the city pretty fast. Remember when we started the show, or I guess year 2 into the show, the Celtics were in the basement. It was like, man, they are pretty far behind those 3 other teams, and now it is flipped on its head.
Yeah. So anyway, people are mad at us. They're saying we're like Van Gundy right now.
No.
Van Gundy and Jackson talking about anything but the actual game, which they were. My favorite moment in the whole game was them clowning the Cornet contest.
Should we do another segment on that?
Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah,
I thought Dario Saric
for like 15 minutes about the Sox. That was like 4.
I thought Dario Saric got it pretty good at the end. He kind of faked the 3. Cornet went up. He stepped into like a 20-footer and drilled it because Cornet was coming down.
Yeah.
But Cornet, great game.
Cornet had a great game. Cornet, I love how
the dunk right off the jump, right?
He's such a
what about his hands?
He's such a gentlemanly dunker. He's so delicate. He catches it and just kind of lays it in, But some of those passes and some of that interior passing to get him the ball down low in his hands, that's a really underrated big man skill. How many times have we seen? Remember, my God, I aged, I think, like a year per game. Every single time someone tried to throw an interior pass into Tristan Thompson, and every single time it would happen, it would just get swatted away, and we're like, stop, Marcus, stop bouncing it into him. But like Cornet collects it, and he goes up quick, and he's tall, and he uses every bit of that height and gets his hands up above people, and he's been really good that way.
I'm telling you, he's a different guy from when he arrived. You look at his numbers from earlier in his career, and he'd be shooting like below 40% from the field just because he was a jump shooter.
Guys, don't look at the numbers. The Cornet contest works just about as much as me sitting at home and banging cymbals together. Okay, just because I'm doing it doesn't mean that's the reason they missed.
Or Bobby, the dude in Brooklyn, that goes like this.
What the hell? No, I like.
That's my favorite. Oh, that's the worst. I hate people who play defense like that. Oh,
I can't stop laughing at that. It's the funniest thing ever. And
hate those
I
fans.
love Cornette,
Those are
but
the ones that are immediately like on the other end. Outlet. It's like, no, man, no.
I hate to clown it if it's something that works and it's gonna prove to be effective. But the fact that, like we've talked about, Josue, you asked Spoelstra and you asked
Hate
and
it.
you asked and you asked Steve Clifford.
Everybody outside of Boston is like, no, they either openly say it's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life, or they very gently say, like, yeah, it's a thing, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not really something we talk about.
Spoelstra said it best. Like, yeah, I guess that's happening right now, but
Yeah,
It's
I,
so
right.
funny.
I guess he's doing it. That's the closest
Yeah.
anybody's ever said.
My guys are gonna be all right.
Steve
Yeah.
Clifford, he was like, there's nothing in the world in defense and basketball like getting out to a shot and contesting the shot
that's
in
what
a
he said,
guy's
yeah.
face.
Yeah, it's
But
so
you know
good.
what? Again, and I've talked to him again since Joe, Joe actually kind of came on and was like,
Joe's the
all
first
right,
one. He's like, I'd rather he stay on his feet because
some
guys are attacking it. Yeah.
guys are going around him. So Luke's kind of thought at this point is that if he's completely out of position and can't do anything
It's better than
else,
doing nothing.
yes. So I think we've seen a little bit less of it. I think we're seeing more of him getting out to guys and actually contesting.
Yeah,
those
I'd rather
shots.
get all the way out to the guy.
Yeah. And so, you get your mix. The numbers look good, so we'll continue to track them and just keep an eye on it. And at the very least, it's something fun. But I don't think
it's fun.
I don't think it's reinventing basketball.
It's fun.
I'm there with you, John.
All right, we're going to talk quickly. We want to tell you about one of our sponsors new to the Garden Report this week, Rocket Money. What is Rocket Money? It's something you probably need and you don't even know that you need it. It is basically, if you're one of the guys like me who has a zillion subscriptions to a million different things, which I think during the pandemic all of us probably did. Like, yeah,
we need Jimmy with his joke.
Yeah. So we have it. This is a company. It's Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill. And are you wasting money on subscriptions? Yeah, you are. 80% of people out there have subscriptions they've completely forgotten about. Most people are probably thinking that they're spending about 70, 80 bucks on subscription a month. The reality is it's closer to 200, which is insane. So the app kind of consolidates all of that into one place and cancels whatever you don't want. It can even find subscriptions you didn't even know you were paying for. And you might even find out you've been double charged for a subscription for whatever reason. And that's it. You just cancel it on the app and you're done to it. So again, get rid of those subscriptions with Rocket Money now. Do us a favor. If you're going to do it, go to rocketmoney.com/garden. Check out the options there. rocketmoney.com/garden. That way they know we sent you, and check it out and see if it is for you. I guarantee most of you would probably benefit from it. So at least check it out. I think it's worthwhile. And of course, we want to tell you about Calm. Number one mental wellness app, which we all here on the Garden Report use. Go to calm.com/garden. You get 40% off your premium subscription, which is awesome. And it's a really good deal. So go through it. If you don't know what it is, it's a bunch of sounds, different things that can reduce stress and anxiety. You got guided meditation, music tracks, sleep stories, movement sessions designed to relax your body, uplift your mind. So just check it out. Like we said, amazing deal here. Calm.com/garden, 40% off a premium subscription. New content is added every week. Like I said, we use it on the Garden Report. It's something that we enjoy. It's something we're going to need during this West Coast trip, that's for sure. Anybody who does support any of our sponsors, you send us a receipt with a purchase, and we will send you a phenomenal T-shirt. And
phenomenal.
Everything is, people are starting to send it to me, the pictures and stuff like that of the, send a personal picture if you guys want. We'll put it on the show. You guys wearing your phenomenal T-shirts. I'd love to see them. A couple people already DM'd me a couple of pics. I think it's awesome. So check that out. Second wave is going out. So if you were one of the people in the last couple of weeks who subscribed to something, we will get you out as soon as possible. So that's that. DM me your shirt size and your address, and I'll send you a shirt. Anyway, what else you guys got? I don't even know where to go here. I'm not going to say I'm bored with the game. It's just everything about this team looks like they're a level up from last year. And so much of it is just about how they carry themselves. It's another thing they talked about on the broadcast a bit, guys. Like, we saw them in the finals. Like, it's a team that went to the freaking finals. It's a team that through 3 games looked like they should have won the NBA finals. Then everything crashed and burned, and they look much better than the team that absolutely ripped through the NBA during the second half of last year and made it to the finals. Like, much better. In terms of their poise, in terms of their ability to just take all comers, there's never a game that they play and you're like, there's no way they. I mean, there's like no teams out there that you're like, okay, they get outside of Milwaukee. I don't even know what you're worried about for a matchup here.
You starting to cross them off.
It's unreal when you do this. Like I said, I was really impressed by the Denver win because that's a contender that came in there. You've had a couple teams that like fancy themselves as contenders, and the Celtics just completely just stomp them. To go into Phoenix and to beat the number one team in the West and not even be competitive is just another like. It's just another message to the league. Like, yeah, we're very serious. We're the real deal.
Right. And that's why I think this this road trip we're gonna find out a lot about this team. I just don't see them going 500 on this thing, or even going into it. We figured they would drop one or two, but I mean they're just cruising along, and even on the second night of a back-to-back, and with challenges in front of them, they do this. It's incredible. I think they're at a point right now where it's not just about let's just get out and do our best. I think they go into each and every quarter with the exact same mindset, and even if things don't go their way, they never falter. I think that's the part of this. Like, it's the mental toughness, And granted, we haven't really seen a team hold a huge lead against this team for more than a quarter and a half or so. I mean, so maybe we haven't seen them in that space, but I just think mentally that's what it comes down to. I just think their mental toughness is on a whole nother level, and a lot of these other teams they're trying to catch up.
It's the opposite, actually. They've had 10-point leads, I think, in like all but 3 or 4 games this season. So they're building those leads, and they're putting other teams behind early and trying to catch up, trying to recreate a game plan or shoot their way out of it. However that impacts other teams to go down by 10 early. The Celtics keep doing it. What was it, 31-19 in this one? All of a sudden, you're scrambling a little bit.
This was a night, though, where, again, I know Suns missed some shots. Celtics were playing defense. Celtics were hustling on both ends of the floor. You had a couple of stretches where the Celtics were playing defense. It was reminiscent of last year just in terms of their movement and their switches. I texted you guys during one of them, whatever one point in the game where the lead had stretched out to 20-something and Monty Williams called a timeout. It was starting to get ridiculous. Next time in, you figured they'd have some really nice ATO set up, and the Celtics' first defensive possession right out of the timeout was one of those ones where it looked like they had 6 guys on the floor. They were just switching, rotating. Phoenix had to force a contested long 2. Then the Celtics went back, scored the next 5 points. It went from 29 to 34, just like that. So they put the clamps down. They could have easily coasted, but they didn't for 2.5 quarters. Calvin Jelly, I love Calvin. For 2.5, 3 quarters, they played both ends. And that's the whole thing is like that defense, Bobby. I'm telling you, it's there when they want it.
It's Jalen, right? It's Jalen.
We know it.
But that's for Marcus in the backcourt when you just put the layup back up. It was like they're playing like a JV team.
It's Jalen.
Should we talk about Jalen? Because three games in a row now, 1 turnover throughout. I know he doesn't shoot as well in this one, but you see the difference when he's
an assassin tonight. Again, it's unfair. It's unfair when you got 2 guys coming at you, when the way those guys are coming at you when they're on their game and they're taking care of the ball and they're playing the way they're playing and getting downhill. It was ridiculous.
But I'm talking the defense. I mean, these last 3 games or so, he's setting a tone on that end. He's being that lockdown guy that he's capable of.
It's all a matter of focus with him. He just takes possessions off sometimes, loses cutters, overhelps. He's had way too many guys blow by him this year. That's just something that should never happen to a guy with his athletic ability and his ability to play defense. Just these weird lapses. But like I said, I'll excuse some of that because people get bored. It's early in the year. I honestly think when Jaylen Brown wants to lock down defensively, he'll lock down defensively.
But he's trying to prove something here. And I know the other night he says in Brooklyn that he's not worried about All NBA and he wants to get back to the finals. But it makes sense for him to make All NBA if he can. And to do that, you got to be consistent night in and night out, as Tatum's been to start this year. And as Tatum was for much of last year, you can't sort of have these huge ups and downs like Jalen's had this year. And again, I don't know why the chat gets on me for saying that. He's had 7 turnover games. He's had 6 turnover games. I know he scored a lot, but we're looking at these complete games like Tatum has had, where you're dominating on defense, where you're in control offensively, where you're efficient from the field while scoring big numbers. And that's what Jalen's starting to piece together here. And that's the standard you hold him to, especially if you're going to talk about him being all NBA. This is what he's going to play like these last 3 games or so here. Brooklyn, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant performance. That's one of the best I've seen from him. And tonight was rock solid too.
Tonight.
Yeah. I think Jalen's trending that direction though. I mean, I don't think this is you think it's going to be like a talking point throughout the entire season, like watching how many turnovers he has, or like 3 good games and 2 bad and 3, you know what I mean? Like
I don't get it. Why can't you say he didn't have the best night if he had 7 turnovers? Like I don't know what the chat's on with that.
I know it's weird. It's like it's this notion that you're looking for negatives. You're not. The standard is higher. You're judging this team by winning a championship, and not just winning. Like so. You need everything to be locked down and on point. When you have Tatum and Brown being careless with the ball, playing ISO
he admitted he wasn't even combative about it.
Exactly.
Time.
Like, I gotta be the strength in their offense this year is that they're not doing that. They're making great reads all the time with the ball. Now I can attack. Now I should pass. Now I drive and kick. Now I move the ball and I rotate and I relocate and I get somewhere else and I'll look for my shot over there. They're doing that, and that's why they're so efficient. When they get out of it, they get into trouble. But 1 turnover in the last 3 games for him, phenomenal. And then, people are putting in the chat, he kind of wants to prove something against a guy like Booker. Yeah, he had a good defensive game today. So, again, sky's the limit in terms of, what Jalen can do on a nightly basis if he just kind of keeps his focus all the time. It's when he gets a little loose with it, on both ends of the floor, things can get a little sloppy or he can get a little careless. It happens.
Phenomenal.
But again, you can't maintain it for 82 games. So
still lights up when you say that.
Phenomenal.
I feel like I'm hearing that word everywhere now too. Like it'll be in quotes. Like it's just floating around my head. I feel like it. I'm not gonna say I started something there, but I am hearing it a little more. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I'm just more aware to it.
It's one of those things where it's like when you.
It's not like an uncommon word. Right,
but because it's
people use it.
Well, because it's one of those things where we're saying it so much, it's gonna grab your ear, more often than it would have.
It's a great word. I forget what did I say when that first became a thing on here. I can't even remember.
You just used it a lot.
Yeah.
You were using it to describe like really medium things,
But it was perfect because as the 180 continued, you were just going nuts. Like right after January.
Yeah.
See, I was pointing out little things back then.
You were describing stuff like, a person who would have 4 points on 3 of 9 shooting with 3 assists had a phenomenal game. I'm like, can we just say he played? Can we just say his contributions extended beyond the box score? Did we have to say it was phenomenal? And that's what it was. We're like, was he actually phenomenal, Bobby? And that's where it started.
Well, I think what I pulled it from is at that time where it seemed like everything was going to hell, you had to look for little things to kind of grab
phenomenal things.
Yeah, and so it was one of 2 things: blow it up.
Reach for phenomenal right away.
Blow it up, which we talked about.
Yeah, you had to resort to hyperbole. I get it.
I kind of got to that point too around that Knicks game, but at the same time, if you want to be patient and you want to see it out as they obviously did, you kind of had to attach those little things like Tatum setting screens more, or like the little defensive habits they were building. And to their credit, those things slowly built up into this.
Yeah.
And so this is a credit to some other teams. I start thinking about these other teams around the league, like Sacramento giving up on Halliburton, or some of these other situations where these teams in the middle might be starting to doubt themselves a little bit, especially with young players. And I know it's such a overstated talking point at this point, but the fact that breaking up Tatum and Brown was a real thought, that should be something other teams pay attention to. Again, they were young, they were early in their development, they were taking on leadership roles for the first time that they weren't fully ready to acclimate to. They didn't have the best habits. and you had to see it through.
I know, but that's not that. I think everyone always got that conversation wrong, and I think people still get that conversation wrong. Breaking up Tatum and Brown was not about whether Tatum and Brown could play with one another. It was more an indictment of the entire roster that didn't have enough talent at other positions, where you viewed Tatum and Brown and their skill sets as somewhat redundant, because at the time they were both ball dominant, give me the ball and get out of my way scorers. So you could only utilize one at a time on every single trip. So the idea was, when people did say split them up, is maybe you'd be better off with an elite point guard instead of Jaylen Brown to complement Tatum or something else. That was a conversation. I'm not saying it was ever the right thing to do, but that's why it was a conversation. Not because Tatum and Brown can't play together. You surround them with the right pieces and the right talent, and facilitators and people who play their roles well. Why in the world would you want to get rid of a top 25 player? You don't want to do that. It was to mix it up because the rest of the roster wasn't complimenting either of them to get the most out of them. That's the point.
It reached that point, but there was chatter before that.
I don't think it was an indictment on either player fully, meaning you thought you were going to get a better player in return. It might have been a better fit on this roster because of where else you were deficient. That was the story.
But it was because people were also thinking that they just
and it was a Marcus indictment, like, because Marcus wasn't doing what he wanted. People wanted a real point guard, so they're like, if you got to trade Jaylen to get it,
yeah,
get
I
it.
love looping. I love looping smart into that, because again, remember,
that was part of the issue. Yeah.
People criticized Ime for looping him in with the other two there, but that was important because he's been as much of a part of this turnaround as anything else, embracing his role. All three of them started to embrace their role. And we were there, Josue, in Washington. That'll be the day we always look back, where he was like saying, like, I love you to everybody. And it looked like he might have been on his way out, and he had that perfect game, and he just kept the momentum going from there.
Yeah, but also, you remember, Ime was also looking for these two guys to lead from the beginning with the whole captain talk, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't until around then that he looped in Marcus, and Marcus was just sort of trying to. We were all wondering where he stood with the future of the Celtics, because of, were they going to pull that trigger and make a move just to shake things up? Because it was, let's face it was getting to that point. I mean, it was by January, right before the turnaround. People were wondering, and of course, the trade deadline wasn't that far away, and All-Star Weekend and all that stuff. But that's the exact point where the Celtics completely flipped the switch and just started beating up on teams. Actually, one of those games was against the Suns. I believe it was at home, wasn't it? New Year's Eve?
The New Year's Eve bashing. Yeah, we're Rob. That was
unofficial beginning, I guess. Well, in some people's eyes,
I think so. Yeah, Al looks back on that date. I think Al mentions that date too, is when things started to shift a little bit. And that's just about a year ago. It's crazy to think a year ago we're sitting here after just horrendous loss after horrendous loss. Charlotte, Portland, all these different teams, New York. It was dark time. So you do have to give them credit for their patience through that, and even their aggressiveness to kind of take what was. And you've talked about this, John, like kind of like the tides turning a little bit before the deadline, but not quite to the degree where you would have thought, like, all right, this team's worth really buying into something. And they go out there and they give up those 2 firsts for White. And I love that move still, looking back on it, like to consolidate and get a guy who really fits, that guy you targeted. And again, I'd heard about him for BSJ and his whole journey here. And, from talking to different people who knew him coming out of college, the Celtics really liked him. I forget where they were picking that year, but he goes 30 to San Antonio. But, they had their eyes on him even back around that draft. And he's obviously been a perfect fit here.
Yeah, no, it's, I mean, didn't seem that way for times last year. And when they brought in Brogdon, there was legit worries that there was a redundancy there.
You said Brogdon?
When you brought in Brogdon, Jason Taylor as that
was so funny.
As Barkley put it.
How did he do, well, he corrected himself right away.
But I love when you say something wrong emphatically. One of the best players right now is Jason Taylor.
No, he goes, his name is Jason Taylor.
Jason Taylor.
Like, you can't introduce a name with his name is, like, you got it perfect.
And he said it best. He was like, man, you were crushing it before the end.
No, I mean, look, man, we discussed openly whether it was a redundancy. We discussed when White came in last year, if that meant Smart might be on the block. See, you didn't know how it was going to fit. You didn't know whether or not it would work. You didn't know if there would be enough minutes. You didn't know if there would be issues between Smart and Brogdon, if Brogdon would overtake him. Everything fits. Everything is fit because the style that they're playing suits, suits this team and the skill
The one
set.
thing I don't get is the
Yeah.
shooting. Like, they have great shooters, don't get me wrong. You got your Tatum and your Brown and Brogdon and all these different guys, Hauser and Pritchard lower on the roster. But again, there's some guys mixed in here. Smart, Horford, great shooter for a center, but a guy who's realistically like 36%. Grant has become great, so you can't really knock that. But for them to come out and shoot 40% every night like it's nothing, I still don't really get that. I know they're
They
producing
didn't
great
tonight.
shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, it dipped down in the fourth quarter, but they were 40 when the guys sat. But to come out every night and do that, and to have that level of shooting consistency, and Joe's been asked about this again. He keeps saying the spacing, and I think Jared wrote about that this morning in the Athletic, and just the different things they're doing movement wise to set up these like perfect shots. But again, like, you expect guys to come down to earth, and they just aren't. It's unreal. Like,
Yeah.
everybody, listen, everybody comes to the court to their season and says, we want to play fast. We want to drive and kick and create all these great shots and blah, blah, blah. All these different things coaches say about that, like, are really hard to practice and do consistently. They do it every game. And, you both talked about like how locked in they are from the early portion of games and getting off to those great starts. That consistency to me, given the style they play, is what really blows my mind still, 26 games into this year.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really is amazing how they do it. I don't know. It's again,
Greatest offense ever.
you're just waiting. I mean, I hate to say it, you just keep waiting for like a regression, and it just gets deeper and deeper, and it's not coming, particularly with the shooting, right?
Yeah.
That's the area where you're like, and again, it's just unthinkable. You can't have multiple guys shooting 47, 48% on the season, but it's just not slowing down. It's not slowing down. And them able to beat you in like 20 different ways is also that. It's just like they can almost never cool down, even games
Yeah.
where they don't seem to have it for a stretch. Again, today was a great example. They didn't look awesome coming out of the gate. Offense was a little disjointed, just the first like 6, 7, 8 minutes. All of a sudden, 17-2 run and the 10-point lead, and that was that. It just happens. They could just turn it on. That's why I like the Golden State comparisons. They just kind of turn it on, and then they just take off, and you're like, what the hell just happened? So it's amazing. I want to sneak it in because it is late, and I want to make sure we get our money's worth. I want to make sure you guys know everything that you need to know. But we've told you about Calm. We've told you about Rocket Money. We have to once again tell you about Athletic Greens. Athletic Greens, one of our sponsors throughout the basketball season this year, and everybody by now knows about Athletic Greens. Great way to get healthy, all in one shot, one-stop shopping. Go get 75 vitamins and minerals all in one scoop. You just put it in a cup of water early in the morning, and you are done. Supports gut health, nervous system, immune system, energy, recovery, focus, basically everything that you're trying to do to get your mind and your body right on a daily basis. But again, you don't have to go chasing a million pills and supplements. We all take it on the Garden Report. It is lifestyle friendly. It's diet friendly. Virtually no sugar at all. Best products based on the latest science, endorsed by healthcare professionals, medical, top medical personnel, athletes take it and endorse it, celebrities, what have you. Thousands of 5-star reviews on the site. So read up on it if it is something that's interesting to you, and go check it out. Time to reclaim your health, arm your immune system, convenient daily nutrition, one scoop, as we said, in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements. To make it easy, Athletic Greens and the Garden Report is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/garden. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/garden to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily insurance. And as I said, and a lot of you have done this already, we got 25 or 30 orders in the last month or so. just on this, and we're pumping out the t-shirts. Athletic Greens, go get some, go renew, go do it again, buy another subscription if you've run out. We'll send you a Garden Report t-shirt, a phenomenal t-shirt, which we all love. Josue, I saw you rubbing your eyes a little when I put the t-shirt thing up there. So we're all getting tired. It's a school day. We got to get up tomorrow. So what else you guys like about this game?
That's all I got out of this one. You want to kick around Warriors a little bit?
We can, and I'm a little bummed out that the Warriors are not are not. That's the most amazing thing about this game. Like, if you look at like, okay, what are we going to talk about tonight? I don't know. This guy was good. Actually, this guy was good. You know who else was good? This guy was good. Also, this guy was good. I will say that Blake Griffin, the one thing we didn't talk about here, was we got our first super chat. I want to put it up there. Guy going out to the
Clippers game.
Clippers. Yes, East Coast doesn't matter. Bobby and I don't sleep.
Yeah, this is pretty normal for us.
We
leave the Garden at 12. I don't
Yeah.
think people realize
12,
that.
12:30, 1 o'clock, you're up writing until late. The life of media people, particularly those like these guys who cover games and events, I'm not going to say it's not, it's not hard manual labor, but you're getting home pretty friggin' late at night most nights.
Yeah, late nights.
It can be tiring. Hardest beat, by the way, to cover is baseball. Oh my God.
I don't know how
can't
that's
imagine.
possible.
Those guys, it is brutal. And during my time, at NBC and before that, Channel 7, when the Sox were such a hot ticket, I'd be at Fenway every single night. Oh my God. You just get out of there so freaking
Was that
late.
like a 9-hour day for you?
Yeah. No, so you literally, you go to, the beat writers have to show up at the park by like 2:30 or 3. Then they go home by like 2. I mean, it's a 12-hour day every day for those guys.
Yeah.
Every day. It's brutally bad. But I do want to talk about Blake because we talked about like how.
Oh, let's sneak in Blake. I mean, there's not too much different to say, but
what I'm impressed with is we talked about the formula, playing him once a week on those back-to-backs coming for Horford. It's been great. This was a tough one because he played 32 minutes last game, and he came in and he had to match up with a legit big, and he was better than Ayton tonight. Can I say that? He was good, man.
Yeah, after that first little run Ayton had, yeah.
He had a couple plays, but that was
the rebounding, just staying. I mean, he had 9 rebounds in 22 minutes. He was really, really strong on the boards there. You're without your 2 bigs. And again, I mean, there's a lot of missed shots in that game from Phoenix, but you out rebounded the Suns in this game.
3 or 4 from 3 for Blake.
And then he hits 3 3-pointers, so it's like everyone's in on the party, but he's just plays tough, man. Every time he's out there, I'm more impressed by him than the last. And starting to think he can legitimately be a piece that like is valuable. Right. Like, but you don't play him all the time.
You can see the encouragement from the rest of the team, and when he got those looks from behind the arc, he didn't even hesitate. It was in the flow of the offense. They were seeking that shot, and he just fits. He gets back on defense. Like, listen, I mean, Al Horford, for the nights that he needs off, this is a huge advantage for the Celtics if you think about it. Because if he's able to be a piece that you can also use in the future and implement for when guys get in foul trouble or whatever the case may be. I mean, guys will trust that in Blake, and I think that he's not gonna he's gonna accept any role that's given to him. So and that's also a big advantage for sure. So yeah,
that's why the signing really worked. The willingness to sit down, not play all the time, have this weird role. Yeah, and Sherrod said that this was something that was talked about coming in. I can't imagine that like this exact situation. But like, I think there was an understanding that he was going to have to battle for minutes and nothing was going to be promised. And, there might be some opportunities here or there and, they'll try to find spots for him. But again, that situation you described there, John, where it's like Horford's out, this is going to be your night and you get to play a lot and you actually get to be not in a star role, but you're with the starters and you're playing with these guys big minutes. it's not the typical end of the roster ring chasing situation for him. Like he actually gets to every couple games feel like he's right in the mix.
Yeah, he's not Udonis Haslam, even though we saw
Yeah.
him play the other night. You know, like he can contribute. He has a role. He has
And to
actually
his credit, he
Yeah.
didn't like what was going on in Brooklyn, where he got taken out of the fold, and then they kind of just throw him in there if things weren't working well. It was very sporadic. You see with his play right here, he is deserving of more than just sitting on the bench forever and
He
getting
didn't
thrown
like the
out there in an
role.
emergency.
Yeah, didn't like the role, didn't like the vibe. His comments here, and Blake's a nice guy, and he's not one to throw bombs. His comments were really telling when he came here, and he was instantly talking about how it's different, like, and something he hadn't experienced recently. So I think some of these, pit stops here weren't necessarily, that pleasant, with the last one being in Brooklyn for sure. So hats off to Blake, man. We thought at worst he would make no impact at all. At best he would make no impact, and at worst he would be a liability every single second that he played. And it's not that at all.
I thought at best it would be a short-lived plug-in guy for nice at the hours off until Rob got back, right?
I thought he'd be a cheerleader only. Yeah.
I had no expectations. You were a little higher than us, Josue. Credit you. Yeah.
I remember that.
You win, Josue.
What's up?
You win.
I'm thrilled. This is a guy you feel good about this. It is a guy we loved watching with the Clippers. He was a really easy guy to root for. You want to see a guy like this kind of find a way to win a championship if he can. I've always said like Melo too. Me obviously being a little more of a Melo fan than most. I wish he could have found that situation.
Isn't that weird, John?
Yeah, it's so weird. I was at the Garden covering those games his freshman year because they had the first round.
Oh, did it go through Boston that year?
It was through Boston, so I got to see, and the seats they set you up for media when you have media passes for the regional are first two rows courtside. It's phenomenal place to watch a game. It is.
John's loving the word.
It is such a good media setup. I'm not kidding. It is unbelievable. Like and you're just right there. And so we got to see Melo in those the year that they won it, his freshman year. That was amazing.
Did you think this guy was going to be special?
Melo?
Yeah.
He was clearly different.
Yeah.
Even then you could tell he was different. But yeah, we'll hear from him before the season is out.
He's looking at Taiwan now. I'm seeing in the headlines.
Nah, he'll be back.
Let's talk. Were you one of those guys that said that Melo's going to be better than LeBron? Because there were a lot of people out there.
I was obsessed with LeBron. I couldn't. I was that. I watched because that's the first time ever you would have high school games televised, and ESPN was televising LeBron's games. I couldn't take my eyes off. Like I was like, this guy. I mean, he was a man. I mean, you've never seen anything like that. And obviously, he's much bigger and stronger now, and he was skinnier then. He was just ridiculous. I mean, he was just on a different level. I mean, every time he took off was like one step inside the foul line, and he was so athletic. Oh my God.
I love hearing you guys talk about this stuff because again, I was pretty young then.
LeBron was like nothing else. I remember I'm working in Boston sports, and every time LeBron played, I would cut like 2 minutes of highlights, and like my sports director would be like, "Dude, what are you doing? We're a Boston show." I was like, "But this guy's freaking amazing." He's like, "Cut him down to 30," and I couldn't stop. I was like, "No, he's awesome."
Could you imagine saying
I'm showing 2 full minutes?
Could you imagine then? That was 03, right? Could you imagine saying 2023, he's still going to be out there scoring 30?
Yeah. No, it's crazy.
It was unheard of.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. So let's talk quickly about the Warriors finals rematch. We could be down some people right now. Who did they say is out?
For Warriors,
Wiggins is definitely out. Yeah.
Wiggins is out, and then now they're talking possibly Draymond and Curry.
But,
man, ESPN's gonna have some sort of medical emergency.
He's trying to throw a curveball. I'm not buying it.
Well, Wiggins is definitely out with the strain, right?
No, Wiggins is out. I'm saying Draymond and Curry.
I hate that.
That takes about as much of the allure out of the matchup as anything, though, because Wiggins is the guy who changed the finals with the defense on Tatum and the secondary scoring and all that. They're already looking pretty thin and vulnerable with their full team intact. To take a guy like that out is going to be devastating for them. And again, you respect their heart and their experience and even some of the systematic stuff that they do, coaching and all that, to be able to keep this close and make it a tough game. But the way the Celtics are playing right now, it's hard not to think that they're going to absolutely blast this team away. I mean, you're starting Ty Jerome, JaMychal Green, and Clay shooting 8 to 25 tonight in a loss to Utah. That's just not going to cut it the way the Celtics are playing, even if Horford's out again.
Yeah, Dirk, welcome to the show. Yes, we did a Dallas tonight, that's for sure. I'm bummed. I wanted full strength Golden State, and I wanted to drill them.
Right, but you also knew though, John, like even a week ago, you're like they're just not there. But a lot of it had to do with health, and now it's like, here we are, and we're still not going to get at least somewhat of what we saw throughout the NBA Finals. And yeah, Bobby, no Andrew Wiggins, that changes things. I wish that wasn't the case. I want to see the Celtics team continue to get challenged by, the team's ultimate best. And just quite frankly, right now at this point in the season, I don't think the Warriors can reach that point. Not until for at least another couple of months or so. They're just really far behind right now.
They are, but they've been playing a lot better. They've been playing a lot better recently.
Yeah.
Even though they lost on a buzzer beater to Utah tonight.
And their fans are mad. You look at the way I don't want to say fumbled this roster here, but they've made some mistakes. Letting Otto Porter go, that looks impactful. Letting Gary Payton go. And again, we really saw the impact of Gary Payton out there, Josue, especially in those Golden State games.
Those last 2 games, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Ginormous loss. Yeah, and he hasn't played yet for Portland, but still, you would have liked to have had that guy back.
Yeah.
The young guys that they really bought into just haven't been impactful at all.
Well, that's the problem.
In the G League.
You were gifted with because of injuries. No team can go from great to like rebuild mode and then get their players back and be great again. When you have your 2 best players go on the shelf for a whole year or 2 years in Clay's case, and you get a top draft pick and you mucked it as badly as you did. Oh my God, is that bad? And it's like, actually, Kuminga had a good game tonight coming off the bench. I'm not sure what he's going to turn into, but the Wiseman thing is a disaster.
The Wiseman,
Moses Moody was supposed to be something.
Yeah.
And again, some of these guys on this roster, Anthony Lamb, Ty Jerome, these guys weren't part of that finals run.
No,
last
I mean,
year.
Jerome started tonight with Curry out, so.
And I thought JaMychal Green would be better. He really hasn't done much of anything. The killer's Clay.
They shouldn't have won a title last year. They caught lightning in a bottle. Like, I can't believe the Celtics,
What did we? Didn't we all pick the Celtics going in? It looked like a golden opportunity for them going against that team. But again, Curry makes such a difference. I mean, he is. You're still talking, right? Curry and Tatum kind of in that same sentence for MVP, and Tatum probably has surmounted him at this point just because of how the Warriors have played as a team. But Curry to start the year, he was right there with them, neck and neck, and they're still pretty close, I think.
It's Tatum, Giannis, Luka, Curry. That's it. We were talking about on our thread all NBA, and I know, Bobby, you didn't have Giannis there. Giannis is there. I mean, the top 5 players.
He's behind Jalen in points.
The top 5 players in the league are so cemented at this point. It's really hard to move off of it, It really is. It's Jokic, it's Jokic, it's Luka, it's Curry, it's Tatum, and it's who did I miss? Curry?
Did you miss
Curry?
Durant?
No, it wasn't Durant. It's Giannis. It's Giannis and Tatum with Jokic, and then it's Curry.
You don't have Durant in there?
And then it's Luka. No.
Luka, yeah.
Yeah, and then Durant's just on the outside looking in. It's pretty close.
I am not counting Kevin Durant out. I mean, this guy not that long ago was still, man, I hope he ends up on a different team this year. And we had that conversation after the Brooklyn game, right? That situation there is just kind of killing his stock and his perception, I think. Yeah. You put him on
Tell him about it. He knows.
Second team, Morant, Booker, Mitchell, Durant,
and
Embiid probably, right? And Jalen's a 3rd team All NBA if the season ends today. Possibly.
You think so?
I think so.
Oh,
There's some weird stuff there. I was stacking it up, and it's like, who's a guard? Who's
it's close. It's close. It's the guard forwards. It's the guard forward split, but I think he gets there.
And I think people are saying, call those guys guards.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Jalen's a forward now. If we're still kind of like trying to parse those positions, and it's hard because we don't do it day in and day out, right? And then you get to All NBA and you have to do that. The way
Right.
Brown plays, he's a forward, right? He's catching the ball around the basket. He's guarding wings. He doesn't have the ball in his hands a ton. He's a forward, so that gives him a boost. Because again, you look at that third team, it's like SGA and Bain and some of these other guys that are
SGA,
clearly
Morant,
guards.
yeah.
Yeah.
Morant.
Yeah. SGA, Ja, and Durant, are in there no matter what, plus a big. There's one spot left, and that it could, you never know who that could go to. But it's still early, and there's a ways to go.
Well, it's important because this offseason, and again, it doesn't matter this year, just so people know. Next year is when Brown needs to become All NBA. It's just one shot or you're done. You get one shot to make All NBA to get that super max. It'll bump them from like 240, 260-ish, somewhere in that range, to 300.
There's a couple people in the chat saying Jokic is having a down year. He's not. he's not. His points per game are down a little bit. All of his other metrics are friggin' ridiculous right now. He's having a good year. He's averaging
number one in the Raptor by a lot.
He's number one in all advanced metrics by miles still, even down a little bit. So regardless, doesn't matter. I would have liked to see this game with everybody full. What I will like to see is when Rob plays and then everybody's like, what? But I don't think so. I think Woj said today the latest thing on Rob was 10 to 12 days away, somewhere in there. So we are
really.
I believe ESPN put it up on the screen there. So I believe.
Yeah, I missed his site. Was he talking about 3-point shooting too? I saw that in the chat.
I think people are thinking about the those 2 games against the Magic and when they come back home.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's what he's alluding to. I feel like Woj.
So that's kind of it. I mean, we are at 11 weeks right now. So, he'll surpass 12 weeks if it's 10 to 12 days, but honestly, who gives a crap? But that's the range. I mean, you're home at this point. If the timetable was to be believed, it's got to be coming.
Yeah.
Well, Friday's the 12 weeks coming up. Not this Friday, but the next Friday. Or
yeah, I think we're just at 11 or approaching 11. Yeah.
Orlando makes a lot of sense, I guess. Yeah, and again, what's the point of rushing him? If he needs another week here, give it to him. There's not much need to bring him back at this point. And Horford, he could be back next game. I don't think there's like a timetable now that you have to.
No, you just got to test
protocol.
out. So. I think test out or 5 days or I don't know what it is, but I think he could be back. I think he'd be back by Saturday.
Yeah, because didn't he miss game 1 of the East Finals and he was back for game 2? So that couldn't have been more than 2 days.
I mean, he's had COVID like 11 times now, and he's pretty good. He's pretty good at shedding. Show me someone who loves anything as much as Al loves COVID.
Yo, why does he always have COVID? What's up with that?
He's had every strain.
He must be so annoyed too.
Every strain. You see in the news, there's
he
a
was
slight
the very
mutation,
first one, I believe,
and it's the Omicron 4BA, and Al's like, oh, I got that one. He's like, okay, well 4BB, and he's like, oh, I got that one too. He's literally had every strain.
He definitely leads the league in it. I can't imagine there's someone who's had it more than him.
Days getting COVID. Yeah, right. Yeah. You guys know anyone that has at least 3, 4, 5 times? Like, jeez.
Yeah, he's got he's got the
it's
belt.
At least 3. I gotta think of the 4th.
Dude, he got 2 like a month apart. Last year, or
he had it in the preseason the first year,
and then he got it in December.
You're right. Yeah. He had it like twice in 1 month or something.
And then third time's the East Final. So this is the 4th time.
This is the 4th time.
Yeah. Wow. Well, hopefully he's not symptomatic and he's right back.
I don't want to joke. He's been in good health each one of these times, but man, he can't dodge this thing, no matter what.
The same thing happens each time, right? But,
well, what you're hoping is you don't get an outbreak here because that would knock one guy out. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
That's it. We made it an hour. It's late. If you guys will allow us, we are going to wrap it up and go to bed. We've all got to, we got to work.
Might jump in. Discord
for
the people. Yeah.
We'll see what you guys are talking about. A couple programming notes, of course. Subscribe to our Celtics All Access channel for constant updates on the team. New videos, new podcasts that we're posting every single day, including Josue Pavon and Cedric Maxwell on the Cedric Maxwell podcast, Bobby Manning's Dome Theory, all of our Garden Reports, Celtics Beat, winning plays. What else do we have?
Goodman,
Ryan,
Ryan,
Goodman and Ryan, A-list
Yeah.
podcast with Sherrod,
and Washburn.
and Washburn and Kwani, absolutely loaded.
Great show.
So yeah, make sure that you check that out. As far as Discord goes, you can hop on our Discord server. Let me find the thing. Oh, I don't have it anymore. There it is. Discord. Go check it out. clnsmedia.com/Discord. You can jump in there, join the chat. I think we've got 1,100 people in there. Very active community. People hanging, talking, talking basketball. Please be respectful of one another when you pop in there and just have good, honest, fun discussion. We don't want this to turn into anything nasty in there.
No disparaging the host.
No disparaging the host. No, but honestly, no disparaging one another. Be respectful of one another's opinions. Let's keep it together. I don't care.
Yeah.
When I'm not in there, you can say whatever you want about me. I don't give a crap.
We also have
let's scroll right up. It'll be good.
We also have coverage coming up of the next 3 games out on the West Coast.
Bobby's heading
sir.
west.
Can't wait for that.
Bobby's heading west, so he'll be out there covering Golden State and the games in LA, so that should be fun. Quick once around for our sponsors again, Athletic Greens, AG1 baby. Go to athleticgreens.com/garden, get a 1-year supply of vitamin D, 5 free travel packs. Athletic Greens, one-stop shopping for all your daily nutritional needs. 75 vitamin supplements into 1 scoop of water. Bang, and you're done. Calm, #1 mental wellness app. Go to calm.com/garden. Receive 40% off the premium subscription of Calm's library of music tracks and sleep stories and all that good stuff. It's a tremendous deal, 40% off the premium subscription. And once again, we want to welcome in our newest sponsor, Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com, save hundreds of dollars, canceling all the subscriptions you no longer need. Rocket Money, formerly Truebill, puts it all into one place and ding, 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 whacks the subscriptions for you so you're not wasting tons of money. I guarantee you're doing this right now. I am too, and something you should definitely check out, so make sure that you do. Once again, the Celtics beat the Suns. They got the Warriors on Saturday. That should be fun. As we said, Bobby Manning is out there. Guys, final thoughts here. Oh yeah, and anything you support, any of our sponsors on the show gets you this phenomenal T-shirt. You just have to send me your information, and I will send the shirt out to you. Final thoughts, guys.
The good times roll. Keep it going. Go to San Francisco and beat that team like they stole something from you. That was the NBA championship last year. So yeah, keep the vibes going, and I think I don't think they'll disappoint. Honestly, at least effort wise, we'll see what the Golden State Warriors have.
Yeah,
I love these quotes starting to flow. Believe it or not, Tatum's quotes are just starting to flow out in Phoenix.
He's chilling. He's taking his time. Take your time, Jason.
He says of Grant's kiss celebration, which I didn't see. I guess it was in the second quarter.
Yeah.
He said he was too excited, too hyped. He was jumping. I was like, Grant, it's still the second quarter. So I pulled him aside and said, you can do it, but I'm cool when I do it. I look cool. You don't look cool. You look like a kid. And I'm sure he was probably joking, but he kind of means that.
Yeah, he's always throwing shots at Grant. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, it's joking, but he also thinks Grant's the biggest friggin' dork in the world.
Remember, what the fuck are you doing?
Oh,
he was
man,
wearing
the
Batman
thing? Oh, yeah, that was hilarious.
I don't want to talk about the Batman thing. I took a lot of heat for not being on board with it, but honestly, I thought he looked ridiculous.
It was so funny.
In Chicago, we mentioned Javonte Green, and he was saying like, yeah, it was great from this, great opportunity, happy to see him get this, this role with the Bulls, but he's got to cut his hair. And then like we talked about how the dunk contest, that's something that Javonte was like, yeah, I think he would do it. He would do it for sure. He was like, he also needs to cut his hair. Like I just love how Tatum just like it would just throw shots here and there.
It was Halloween. Yeah, I guess he gets a pass, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the only reaon why John didn't completely hate that.
Yeah, it's all
Imagine
good.
more for the Denver game, it would have been like, oh Lord.
Oh, Batman. Anyway, it's all good. Grant was awesome tonight, and again, scoring in a lot of different ways. He scored the first 7 points of the game when the rest of the offense looked a little bit disjointed. So he was great.
Yeah, he's way down the list, but he'd be a big story. And
Last little
other
piece of
stuff wasn't
information.
happening.
We're just gonna share it with you, Xander Bogaerts.
Look at that, we got
Bye-bye.
a banner and everything.
Yeah, 11-year, $280 million deal with the San Diego Padres. Xander, who's been in the Red Sox organization since he was 16 years old. They plucked him when he was a
2013 champ right there.
They
Man.
That's
plucked
what
him when
really
he was a
hurts.
teen from Aruba, 16 years old. He's been
And you
a
saw him
member of the
coming
Red
up,
Sox
and you heard
organization.
about him, and he was one of those guys you like might make that trip to AA to see, because it's like, man, he's gonna be something special. And
Yeah,
he wasn't like the 30 home
World
run
Series.
guy.
Crazy.
Yeah, he was on that first World Series team. I remember that big walk he had against the Rays in that game, and he honestly became my favorite Red Sox pretty quickly.
I mean, that was he was on the 2013 team, and as a rookie, he played in that postseason. So he was on the 13 team, obviously integral part of the 18 championship. That's it. That's 10 years, really 9 full seasons with Boston in the major league level. 2014 on, he's been their guy. And it's just unbelievable to think of the core that this team had. With Bogarts and Betts and Devers, and at the time I thought Benintendi was going to be something, and all of these guys, and
that's right.
to just piss it all away. It's
There's some parallel. I
unreal.
mean, this almost feels like losing Marcus Smart, and you're looking at Devers almost like a Tatum, who's on the verge of potentially leaving now, and
Yeah.
whoever you want to call Brown in that setup, but they had something special going there, and now like it really
It's a
feels like
mess.
they're back at square one.
I still think this is a terrible contract, and I would never have considered this. I honestly think if the Red Sox did this, it's strictly sentimental. It's just a shame that this is where we are with this team right now.
Betts could have been Brown or whatever, yeah.
That they're playing cheap and everybody else is spending money. It's insane. I don't know where the Padres got money when the Red Sox don't. So it's just embarrassing at this point. But I personally, I don't make this deal. If I'm the Red Sox. And also the sad thing here is Xander wanted to be here so badly, he would have played ball. But the further you get and the further you get and the further you get and you get to this point, and that's it. Somebody comes to the table with something like this, and you're not even close. You're not even close to being able to match it. So bye-bye. That's it for Xander. Good deal.
Yeah.
Good
they're
deal
gonna lose
for him.
a lot more people after this one. And man, when Devers goes, I don't know how they'll pull a lot of people back. I guess, when you start winning again, it won't be too hard, but man, it's going to be bad when they lose him. And
when
this
you
sort
lose,
of looks like the beginning of that.
When
that
you lose,
up and under that Tatum's got down right now, just to the super chat guy, man, he's got that thing down. Like, it doesn't matter what angle he's in, he's bringing that back to the left. The up and under.
There it is.
Yeah. What did he say? The layup package. I just wanted to point that out.
It's not underrated. I think I agree, Josue. I actually think that is the number one change to his game is the finishing around the rim this year is completely different. The percentages back it up, but I think that's the most profound difference is.
And that's what's driving their 3-point shooting, like that threat at the rim. Smart's been a threat. Brown has been incredible there. They have 3 guys who are huge threats around the rim, and they have to account for them.
Yeah, and that's it. The old Celtics, you defend by packing it in and letting them shoot. Now you've got to defend every inch, every blade of grass, as they say, and it's a really hard team to defend because they can beat you a lot of different ways. Lot of different ways. But anyway, just wanted to throw the Xander stuff out there. Because I know there's some interest in several of you, I'm sure, are Boston fans as well. But as I said with this stuff, when you lose guys like me, lifelong fans who were baseball number one over everything else, at my age, you lose a guy in their 40s from Boston who's been a baseball fan his entire life, and I'm never going back. You've got serious problems. I'm telling you.
I'm hanging in there.
You have serious problems.
That's a great point. You've seen both sides of it. Like you've seen well to past 04.
I lived it. because again, because of my stretch, I went from, that we had that 15-year gap when I was a kid in the 80s when they did the last championship was
90s,
Bird in
yeah.
86 all the way to 2001. I've lived through darkness. I've seen bad years and we've seen it all. But again, baseball was everything to us.
I watched.
I was there on the
Changed
field in
Pedro.
St. Louis
When Pedro
when
came,
they
that's when
won it.
everything changed for me.
I covered that professionally. I was there on the fields, one of the great thrills of my life. And
13 was really special for the city.
13 was great. To be this far removed and to not even care anymore is really hard to do. To, like I said, to a fan like me, I am the wheelhouse demographic, and you're losing me, guys. That's a problem.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Because I can't say I like suffered that long, right? Because I mean, yeah, Pedro into signing Manny, times were good. Like, they were on the up and up. Like I wasn't, mid 90s, 90s, and all that stuff. So yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, if anyone's mad we're talking baseball, this is normally what we talk about around this time.
It's this or
I know, right?
or it's this or pies or pickles.
That pickle show was special. That was quite a debate.
Hot stove talk for you guys.
I'm hanging in there, but man, last
Lee,
year was rough. Really
Lee, I gotta tell you,
me.
I don't understand this comment, buddy. I don't know what you're saying. I'm literally trying to tell you,
He's
you
trying to
lose
get you
baseball.
triggered.
You
Yeah,
lose
don't worry about
baseball fans of my age, and there's several of my friends who feel the same way. You've really done damage. That's the problem with baseball right now. The fan base is old. When you can't retain the core, good luck, man. The kids aren't friggin' watching. But my nephews, my 15-year-old nephews, they don't have friggin' Devers jerseys. They've got every Premier League player you could think of. They don't give a crap about the Red Sox. You have serious problems here when you're losing your core.
Yeah. That's a great point.
So it's bad. It's gotten so bad right now.
When are you gonna drop that column? You got some heat there. There you go.
I did.
Man. It's all right. It's all right. Like I said,
we might have to do an off podcast about that because it is, man. It's been tough to watch the last few years. And again, they were pretty. I just saw a commenter say 2021 was pretty fun, and you still had your Bogarts and your Devers, and now it's just another piece gone. Like that was some real momentum they gained back after after the Betts debacle, which again, that killed people in Boston. Fenway was pretty electric last year when they were doing those college tickets, and they had that wild card win over the Yankees, and but they squandered that with an awful year.
Strange baseball resurgence locally with the youth. And I call that the Carabas effect. I actually think he's one of the most influential and important people in all of sports. And I'm not just saying that because of his because being of that age and being enthusiastic about it. I do think that he helped pull some people back of a younger generation where they had kind of experienced a dip for some time. But it is hard. You're not getting a lot of kids. You're not getting lots and lots and lots of new fans. So it is difficult. Here to be losing the core guys, and I'm one of them.
Schwarber was a killer too. Yeah, we can do a whole show about
We can, but anyway, we'll wrap it up. Celtics win. It was an awesome win. Thank you guys for joining us. Really good, lively audience here, hanging out late. From all over the place, which was great. Statement win. Statement win for the Celtics.
21-5.
Again, who are the top 5 teams in the league right now? It's obviously the Celtics. It's
Celtics, Bucks, Pelicans, Cavs.
Pelicans, Suns were in there, Cavs, and those are your 5. So you've mashed the Suns. You've mashed the Pelicans game was kind of close, but you've got
a Cleveland problem. Well, there was no Zion.
The Cleveland problem's real. We'll see what impact Zion will make if he comes to Boston this time around.
I mean, he's making a ridiculous impact everywhere right now, so he's back in full.
And
they're winning without Ingram now, right? He's on the shelf.
Yeah, I believe so. And then the Bucks thing's going to be interesting because they do have that Cleveland thing going on with Giannis and Brook, the 2 big bodies, really overwhelming size across the 3 through 5 positions. They'll cause some problems, but they have. I'm going to dive into that soon and preview Christmas. They have some funky statistical stuff going on that you look at and say all right, are they on the Celtics level? There's some stuff there that you can dive into and have some skepticism with them. We'll see what kind of impact Chris Middleton makes because that's obviously a huge return and what they hope is going to swing how that series went.
Yeah, it should be fun. There's a lot. The best thing about it is that's all you're doing at this point. You're just weighing yourself against the best. and see how it is, which is why a game like Golden State, you really want the measuring stick. I love going into Phoenix and having them have Chris Paul, even though he wasn't 100%. And see what you can do, which was astounding. I want to see Golden State as close to full as possible because these are measuring stick games. You don't want to play. You're not just trying to stack W's. You want to see like how good are you. So it's kind of a shame you wait this long to play Milwaukee, but you'll get a full Bucks team with Middleton in there with Lopez the way he's playing. So that'll be fun. But we will wrap it. We're back in a couple nights. Thank you guys for hanging out once again. Massive win here over the Phoenix Suns. More lopsided than that final score by a good bit. Lead got up to 45 points, I believe, at one point. An absolute drubbing. Warriors coming up on Saturday. Bobby Manning will be out there covering those games. We will have a post-game show as well on Saturday. We will see you then. Until